I'm on the east coast of Tasmania today, on my way to photograph some shorebirds. I've found a pristine and untouched beach location, a location that would be ripe with shorebirds. While on my walk to the beach, my mind was running through all of the birds I would be seeing, from plovers, maybe whimbrels, and perhaps even my favourite shorebird, the eastern curlew. But to my surprise, there was only one bird species today, the red-necked stint. The red-necked stints are small migratory shorebirds, spending northern hemisphere summers at their breeding grounds in Siberia or Alaska. They then make the epic trek to Australia, where they feed and refuel for the trip back. Alaska to Tasmania, hey? What a journey. So I'm not one to pass up an opportunity of shooting a new species I haven't seen before, so I got deep into the weeds with the stints. Literally. These birds were working their way through the ocean detritus in some softer sand. So that's washed up kelp, seagrass and driftwood. It was a bit of a difficult location to shoot them in, with busy foregrounds and backgrounds, but it was a good chance to see them in a different environment. I decided to move closer to the water and the wet sand where they would definitely be feeding. And as per usual with bird photography, it never plays out how you expect. Only one bird was on the wet sand feeding today, but it was still enough to watch and take in their behaviour. Even though the wind was starting to pick up and the sand was becoming quite sandpapery, it didn't stop this little guy from vacuuming and filtering the sand. They jab and probe this soft wet sand at pace, on the lookout for small invertebrates. When the wind would die down, I would get wafts of something rancid. The culprit was this rock full of long-necked penguins, or should I say, cormorants. The amount of bird turd on this rock must go back hundreds of years. Consider yourself lucky that smell-o-vision doesn't exist yet. So, back to the stint. While watching him for a few more minutes, he suddenly stopped and hunkered down near some washed-up kelp. This could only mean one thing. A predator was near. Overhead, I heard the shrill cry of a white-bellied sea eagle, the top predator along this shoreline. Other birds then set the alarm off and it was off, sprung. These big birds are considered vulnerable in this area due to the extensive development of coastal areas. They are sensitive to any human disturbances during their breeding season. This means excessive noise and land clearing, the usual culprits. After the eagle had moved on, it was time for the stint to feed again. With nothing really happening, I thought it was probably time for me to move on and leave this fella to filter the shoreline, this time without my watchful eye. I decided to go back to the original stints I photographed first, but this time I was after a bit of backlighting. The light was changing very quickly due to a storm front moving in, so I only had a small amount of time with decent light. I found it a tad tricky to shoot these guys through all of the ocean debris, but luckily they decided to stand still for me, only because of yet another white-bellied sea eagle was spotted in the area. By the looks of it, it might have been the same one. Once the threat was gone, it was back to business yet again. Unfortunately, the light was now fading and the wind was increasing, so it was time for me to say goodbye to the stints and head off on my long walk back home. I had never photographed redneck stints before, but after a couple of hours watching their busy scurrying and feeding, I think I'm becoming a stint head. And I mean, who could blame me? Look at that. Thanks for watching.